Good morning. Today is Sunday, June 29th, 2014. And today's word is joy. And our affirmation is, I am one with spirit, one with joy. Nothing surpasses the joy of spirit, and nothing is stronger than the indwelling divine presence. Joy is always available, regardless of outer conditions, other people, or adverse circumstances. If I ever lose touch with inner joy, if I ever feel discouraged that life does not seem to be going my way, I simply bring myself back to center, and I look within to find that joy has never left me. I am loved, I am strong, and I am one with God in every way. My sense of joy returns as I allow my consciousness to rise to an awareness of Spirit's immovable presence and power. Joy is as natural to me as breathing and smiling, because Spirit is with and within me at all times. Our scripture for today is Hebrews 1:9. God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness. Let us acknowledge the sacred moment by singing Surely the Presence.
Now that my mic is on, good morning. Is that I guess that's the swamp cooler. Okay. Please join me in prayer. Father, Mother God, we give thanks for this opportunity to open ourselves to the awareness of your presence. And for this awareness, we give thanks. Amen. Well, are you enjoying your summer now that it is 8 days old? Clean up my workspace here. All right. I'm free! Well, this coming Friday, we celebrate our annual coming together as a country, right? Yes, that would be interesting. And to celebrate the release from the oppression of a foreign government. We can all relate to that, right? We even go to war with the idea that we're going to somehow help others gain their freedom. It might be useful for us to instead pay attention to our own personal freedom in this particular moment and to look at how it is that we imprison ourselves. This last week, we saw the trial or conclusion of the trial of the 6 journalists. Actually, I guess there were 8 journalists that were on trial in Egypt for basically doing their job. That is to illuminate some of the atrocities, some of the actions of the government, of the military government that followed the replacement of Morsi in Egypt. Getting 7 years in prison for showing a news clip that had been aired before of reporting things that had happened on the ground. And we come away from that saying, how is there justice in that? What is it about this trial and this sentencing that makes sense in a free world? Well, I have a mentee. There is a minister that's going through school for the Pacific Rim Unity region, and so he's based in Hawaii. So, and the school is in Hawaii. So, for those students that are not in ministerial school back at Unity Village, they like to have a field minister as a mentor for these students, and with the possibility of my visiting out there on someone else's nickel, I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." It turns out that this has been an interesting experience. My mentee, Levitt was just involved in a trial of a horrific crime that was perpetrated on a 5-year-old girl by a soldier dad that was of the opinion that she was not minding. She was not doing what she is supposed to do. And so the details of this tragedy unfolded and was revisited in several different ways over the course of this 3-month trial. And so Levitt was on the jury. So he had to sit through the descriptions of all of these things that were done to this 5-year-old child before she finally passed. And, I think about what that must have been like. Indeed, for all 12 jurors to sit there and to be subjected to those events. And so I asked him. It turns out I met one of his supervisor in school at Unity Village, and so he described to me some of the things that Levitt had passed on to him, and the challenges that Levitt had in dealing with this awareness of the behavior of others. And he was able to remain aware, and he was able to not self-medicate, but self-heal in his meditation and his coming back to the awareness of truth as he knew it, and to allow that these actions, these sins of this person, of this father, to be forgiven, not forgotten, because justice still needs to be done. The individual still needs to be in some way constrained from perpetrating those behaviors on others. But in his own defense, in the defense of his peace of mind, he was able to, through meditation and affirmations, he was able to remain fairly not impervious, but fairly distant from the injury that would otherwise have befell him. Well, here we have in the case of the journalist, here we have in the case of the perpetrator, here in the case of this jury member, we have we have freedom that is being taken away. And some would say in one case it's justified, in another case it's unjustified, in a third case it's just the way it is, that in his performance of his civic duty he was one called upon to endure this. Luckily, most of us do not face those kinds of extreme losses of freedom. And the losses of freedom that we have might be the weary parent who is exhausted from chasing a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. You might think that I have some personal exposure to that because I see my daughter panting at the end of the day with eyes at half-mast saying, well, now I have to sit down and study. So, and we can imagine the debtor who has accumulated debt on a credit card and is fed up with that monthly payment. Indeed, we had one of our credit cards that we used here at the church for the renovation this last month. We were able to retire it. Yay! So Home Depot no longer is a recipient of our benevolence on a monthly basis. And then we have the person who is holding the job that it's hard for him to get up in the morning because he does not like his job. It's not fulfilling, or it's not harmonizing with his desire for his purpose in the world. And we can look at all of these and we can say, well, these really are voluntary imprisonments, aren't they? I mean, the parent who decided that, the would-be parent that decided that she would be a parent, the debtor that accumulated the debt, the person who took on a job or stays in a job that is not fulfilling, we can say, well, those are imprisonments that are voluntary. Well, yeah, except that I think that there's a post-decision awareness that we have that is sometimes summarized in the phrase, if I knew then what I know now. And so we strive to get free of those decisions. In the case of the parent, the parent will go away for an evening and finally have some free time, but in the meantime be thinking about, well, I wonder if he's going to sleep on time, or I wonder if the babysitter is able to take care of the kids properly. So there is still an imprisonment, and it's an imprisonment that is indeed voluntary. That's the kind of imprisonment that I'm talking about now. That imprisonment which is on a moment-to-moment basis. It's an imprisonment that is based upon decisions that we make in each. There is the opportunity for us in each and every moment to decide how this moment is going to unfold. Would you not agree? I mean, we do have free choice. We do have the ability in any given moment to say, okay, how am I going to encounter this next moment? Now, we may say, oh, wait a minute, now, I don't have a choice. I'm going to have to do this, or I'm going to have to take care of that, or I'm going to have to respond to someone else's expectations of what I should. Because if I don't respond to their expectations, if I don't justify my actions, if I don't put myself into a position of expressing to the world what the world expects of me, then I'm going to be judged harshly. How many of you have ever had the opportunity to be forced to respond or to react or to do in a certain way based upon the expectations of others? However, Okay, now those of you who didn't raise your hands, are they paralyzed or? So we go through our lives with a response to our environment based on what others expect of us. Now, we do, in fact, learn over time that it's not really necessary. I mean, I look at my 5-year-old and I look, my 5-year-old, the 5-year-old that occupies our house, my grandson, and I realize, the expectations that I impose upon him. Before he goes to bed at night, I'd like to see the dining room cleaned of all of those Lego parts, right? I'd like to see the bathroom floor not littered with superheroes. I'd like to be able to climb into the shower and not have to clear away the water toys that were used the prior night in their shower before they went to bed. Okay, I have these expectations that I impose upon the 5-year-old. And furthermore, I also have, being the alpha dog of the house, I don't know how Jake puts up with me, but it's wonderful that he does, because the house is more calm as a result. Jake is my son-in-law. So my son-in-law and my daughter live downstairs with my grandson and my granddaughter. But so I have this ability, this opportunity. We all have the ability, and I take responsibility for my opportunity to impose upon the 5-year-old and the 2-year-old some expectations. And that's the way it starts, right? Someone in authority, someone who has the ability to impose some kind of limitation on you, has an expectation of you, and you fulfill that expectation, or you're going to have some sort of imprisonment, right? Okay, so it starts when we are trying to civilize these young beasts that are set upon us in this world. And it's okay for that to happen to an extent. But it is also important for us to realize what we're doing. And when I realize what I am doing, there are times when oh man, did I really say that? Did I really do that? Well, we have to forgive ourselves. So, when we go about our day-to-day, when we step into this next moment, impose upon this moment our own expectations or others' expectations, we are imprisoning ourselves. And that imprisonment is what can lead to stress, it is what can lead to ulcers, it is what can lead to sleepless nights, and it is what can lead to an early death. We have, we've been talking about these 12 symptoms of awakening. And I'd like to just focus on a loss of interest in conflict and gaining the ability to love without expecting anything in return. Because these two are going to give us freedom in the moment. These two aspects of awakening, these spiritual awakening, will allow us to free ourselves in this moment. One could argue that there are other things in that list as well, but these are the two I'm going to focus on today. We have recently one of the icons of freedom made his transition, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela wrote a book, probably co-authored the book, but it doesn't make any difference. He was offering us his life experiences, A Long Road to Freedom. And out of that book came several quotes that I'd like for us to look at here. One was, as I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. Wow. How long was he in prison? 2 years, something like that. Some multiple decades. I think it was 32 years. But for him to walk out the door and realize on his exit that he needed to leave his resentments back on Robben Island, wow. How many of you feel honestly, and you don't need to raise your hand, that you could do that? What kind of presence of awareness was in him as he walked out the door and realized resentment left behind? For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. That's a separate quote, but he goes on in a later passage to say, I knew as well as I knew anything that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. I'm not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. A Course in Miracles, it turns out, scribed in the mid-70s, talks about the imprisoned jailer and the jailer being us. We impose some kind of limitation or restriction on others by our expectations, by our words, by our judgments. When we impose on others those imprisoning ideas, those imprisoning emotions, those imprisoning thoughts, we are in fact locking the door behind us and imprisoning ourselves. So we may think, well, you know, I'm liberated, I am free, I can do what I want, I have all the money that I need, I can go anywhere I want, I can be with anyone I want. Yet, that is true only if, he states here, we work for the freedom of others. We are successful in freeing others. That we are able in our day-to-day activities, our day-to-day words, to be able to set others free of our expectations. You see, it's our expectations of others that are the most imprisoning, because there's no defense against that for someone who is not aware of their own freedom. When you think that you need to respond to someone else's imposition, then you are imprisoned by that imposition. Do you see that? You know, as we look at the things that happen in our lives, we are often in a dynamic with the events, with the relationships that we have. That is to say that we are either responding or reacting to things that are happening to us or around us. In our immediate life experience, in this moment, we are encountering things, thoughts, activities that we feel that we need to respond to. Right? But we have a choice in whether we react or we respond. You know, reaction is maybe, it is always, but I'll just say it's usually in defense. We react in defense. Now, reaction can be good. If I'm standing on a corner and I see that there is a bus headed my way to occupy the same space and the same time as I'm presently occupying, then I'm going to react. I'm not going to consider what else is going on. I'm not going to consider the state of mind of the driver. I'm not going to consider whether or not my being a bump on the road is going to inconvenience the passengers of the bus. No, I'm going to get out of the way. Reaction can be very useful. It can be something that allows you to survive to experience another moment. Response, on the other hand, is consideration of other factors. A response is more considered. A response is not necessarily immediate, oftentimes not immediate. You know, it's interesting that we elevate this attribute of responding in the word responsibility. Turns out we spell it responsibility, but responsibility is our ability to respond to the events of our lives, considering factors other than the immediate defense. And that responsibility, well, have you ever heard of reactability? In fact, my spell checker doesn't recognize reactability. I Google reactability, and it's not a word. Reactivity is one of the alternatives shown to me. So reactability is not a word. Responsibility is. We have elevated our ability to respond to be a positive personal trait. That person is taking responsibility. Yay, right? That person is exhibiting reactability, huh? So responsibility is a positive personal trait that in our job descriptions, in our relationships, in our interactions with others, that responsibility is an elevated attribute of our person. So being able to consider the ramifications of our action, being able to consider the motivations caused the events that we are in relationship with right now. Those are very positive things. And if we are able to realize that in this moment, I can respond to this particular word or this particular action or this particular event, if I can respond to that rather than react to that, then I am setting myself up for freedom. Reaction sets me up for imprisonment. How many of you have sent an email and had wished that there was a bungee cord on that email? Or that there was just a single question, did you really intend to send this email? That's kind of I am learning. I am still a student, but I am learning. That experience of, I didn't want to send that, is school for us. It's education for us. It allows us to say, maybe I should have breathed before I hit the send button. Maybe I should have not even responded at all. Maybe I should have just let that email that was sent to me, let me just forgive that idea that was being expressed and not react at all, not respond at all. Maybe my response is solely internal and not external. Maybe my response is forgiveness. Maybe my response is to let go. I release and I let go. I didn't realize how useful that song was going to be in my talk today. So we have the opportunity, as Jesus has offered us, we have the opportunity to free ourselves in each moment. He spoke to his disciples to say, the things I have done, you can do also. He was offering words of empowerment. He spoke of turning the other cheek. He spoke of walking a mile in our, or walking 2 miles in our enemy's shoes. He talks about being in the moment, being of the moment, but not being dictated by the moment. He spoke of being in the world but not of the world. He spoke of being aware of that divine presence within. And the book of John is all about talking from that awareness of the divine presence within, the Christ, the one Son of God. It's not Jesus as a specific avatar of the divine, but rather Jesus as one who is aware that God is present in each and every one of us, that the divine spark is available to all of us to express in any given moment. And if we are aware of that divine spark, then we are able each and every moment to encounter the events, the words, the people in our lives with freedom, by honoring their freedom as well as realizing our own. There is a passage that is often used by fellow Christians that rely on this idea of the uniqueness of Jesus. But I don't see it that way. I see it differently. Then Jesus said to the Jews who had believed in him, "If you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth will make you free." What is that truth? It's not that Jesus came to die for our sins. It's not that Jesus is the one unique avatar of the divine, but rather he continued to speak, to teach, to demonstrate is that the divine spark is in each and every one of us, and if we realize that divine spark, then we are truly set free. It is the Christ that sets us free. The awareness of the Christ. It's the awareness of the Christ that sets us free. Not this person that lived 2,000 years ago. He demonstrated, he taught, he passed on this awareness to us. And if we fall back and say, well, Jesus was the one that came to save us from our sins, if you're aware that Jesus just demonstrated that the Christ is in each and every one of us, and in the realization that the Christ is in me and the Christ is in you, I can now, as Nelson Mandela offered, I can be free if I honor your freedom. So really the choice in each every moment, if we want to be free, if we want to realize the freedom that is available to us, is to set everyone else free as we free ourselves. We forgive them, for they know not what they do. And we forgive ourselves because we know not what we do until the awareness in this moment that the Christ is in me and I am the expression. And in that expression, I am free. We'll have our meditation. As we come into our meditation, we'll come in with, I cast all my cares. I cast all my cares on you, God. I cast all my cares on you, and lay all my burdens in your presence. I cast all my cares on you, oh. I cast all my cares on you, God. I cast all my cares on you. And even when I'm not sure what I should do, I cast all my cares on you, oh God. Breathing into this moment. Letting go of all the assumptions of this past moment. Unburdening ourselves of expectations, our own and others, that I have accepted as my own. In this moment, free of these burdens, I allow myself to expand in the awareness that I am the Christ. Let go of any adverse responsibility you think that that phrase offers, and just think about this. I am the Christ. And say that to yourselves. I am the Christ. I am the Christ. The expression of the divine in this moment. I am the hands, the feet, the tongue of God in this moment. I am the emissary of the divine, brought to this moment to be the expression of truth. Truth in the awareness of the Christ light. Not about our personal opinions, not about our personal positions, but rather the awareness that the Christ lives in each and every one of us. I am the Christ is not a declaration of our separateness or our superiority, but rather it is an awareness that the I am is the universal expression of the divine. I am the Christ is a truth that applies to me and to you and to every other expression in this moment. I am the Christ. Not I will be the Christ or I was the Christ, but I am now the Christ. Now feel that. Feel that deep in your heart. Feel the irresolute truth that you carry. Here and now, I am Christ. My thoughts are the blossom of the Christ. My words are the blossom and the expression of the Christ. My actions are the blossom, the expression, and the fulfillment of the Christ in this moment. that awareness, we come back into this time and space, sharing the words of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. And we'll take an offering for unity now. For those of you in our internet audience, you can also make a contribution by using the donate button at the bottom of the screen on the web page. Thank you for being with us. As we take our offerings in our hands, let us bless them with this offering statement. Together, please. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love because I trust in God. And once again, Trinity Damask, irreverence.